Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This is my final MAFS-related interview.
What sort of villain gets that?
It's Australia's reaction. It's an
This
exclusive.
is an exclusive. That's hitting the cutting room floor, bro.
Caused a lot of drama and it never got aired. It just went nuts.
Back in the studio, back to reality, and
We
back
are back
with my girl. What's up?
Hi.
Was that? Listen, that was not rehearsed at all. Hey, how you doing? You good?
I'm a little bit sniffly still sick, but I'm here.
The sexy husky voice.
Yes.
What did I say last week? We like that. We like that. I'm telling you,
I'll
guys
do
say
my
that they don't
best.
like it, but we like it.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, listen, we've got someone special in the studio.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this guest.
We have got Lyndall from MAFS season 10.
Season 10.
Come
Woo!
on. Ooh. Hey, listen, actually we're very excited, man. Like we've actually been, going through a fair few of the MAFS cast, at the moment. And
we have.
yeah, very, very
My
excited.
peeps.
So, hey, your peeps, huh?
My peeps.
That's what's up. This is right in your area.
I know. So for those who don't know, Lyndall was matched with Cam, and she was also living with cystic fibrosis. She's a boss. She's just stunning. And I'm really excited to chat to her because I feel like there were a lot of parts of her relationship that I could really relate to. So, yeah, I'm excited to get
Most
into
definitely.
it.
Hey, look, but before we do get into it, just want to remind the listeners around that we are recording on Gadigal land. And without further ado, let's get into it, right? You!
Woo!
Lyndall, welcome to the studio.
Hi, Queen.
Hey, Sugar.
having me.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much for coming.
I know.
I've never done an in-studio podcast. So
Serious?
it's the first time.
So this is your first podcast.
I've done like a couple over Zoom, but this is
that don't
in
count.
that doesn't really
studio.
count, does
Yeah,
it? No.
Yeah,
This is the real deal.
the
This
real
is like,
deal.
don't touch your microphone. Like,
And you look amazing, by the way.
oh, thank
Stunning.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Listen, let's talk about the boxing scene.
Oh,
You
yeah.
were just recently in
Okay.
Melbourne.
Okay.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Let's start with that. Let's start real hot. How was the
All
boxing?
right. I mean, I had the best time. I felt like it was really cathartic. Probably did more for me than therapy did.
Oh, come on.
Oh, really? You looked stunning.
You look really good.
Thank you.
I love the
A little
playsuit.
bit controversial, my outfit, but I personally
I
loved
mean,
it.
if you've got the body like you do, why
You
not?
owned it, girl.
Thank you.
They
Purse
say.
designer as well. It's like,
Ooh.
come on, we got to
Oh,
do
represent.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
Listen, you know what they say? They say if you have a Ferrari, you don't keep it in the garage.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
You got to go
Exactly.
out there for a spin, girl. So for some of you guys, I don't know. So, like we said last week as well, too. Actually, a few people attended this fight. It was a couple of fights on.
Yes.
But Harrison and Daniel were fighting. And Jackson and Taku as well.
Yep. Your boy.
Yeah, me and Taku, that's my boy. That's, like we share a name. Like his name's Takunda. My full name's Takunda as well, too.
Yeah,
Anyway,
crazy.
real weird. But, talk to us about that. How was the experience?
I mean, it was good. It was interesting for me because I've just been in Perth for however long since the show, and it's just like me, Bronte, Jessie hanging out. And then it was suddenly, all right, we're back, and we're back with all the paparazzi, and there's all these things that are going to happen afterwards. And like, I think that was a little bit intense, but for the most part, like, I had the best time. I just
That's
wanted
what's
to have a bit of fun, see some people get punched in the face.
And then
They
so-
consented to it, so it's allowed.
Hey,
Like,
that's
I'm
what's
allowed to
up.
enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah. So you were quite close with Bronte
Yes.
during and
yeah.
post show.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's safe to say you've got Bronte's side/back
Oh, yeah.
versus Harrison.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Man, oh boy. And you know what though? Stuff the fights. This caption actually killed me, okay? So
yeah.
when you posted it was Sandy, Taylor, Bronte, and Listen Yourself, obviously. And the caption was plane ticket $300, outfit $500, watching a narcissist consent to getting smacked around a bit, priceless. That was golden.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah. Thank you. I actually came up with that months ago. I was like, guys, I've got this fully sorted. I know. I really thought it through.
I was like, was that ChatGPT helping you out or what's going on? That was AI right there.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty savage. of
Nah,
me,
hey
you know?
man, listen. Well, like, were you okay with the results? You know what I mean? Like,
I was very happy with the results. Yeah. I mean, I don't actually know Daniel or Jackson very well. Like, that was the first time I'd ever met them. I don't think I'd spoken to them ever. Like, never even sent a message. I didn't follow them on Instagram until that day. So, but we went along to, I guess, support Daniel.
yeah.
Inadvertently because we were not supporting his opponent.
Yes.
But yeah, it was really good. Bronte and I kind of talked about it, joked about it for a while, and then we were like, oh no, right, free tickets, we might as well go and and just enjoy it.
And
A bit
look
of
good
justice
doing
being
it.
served,
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that's what surprised everyone because we didn't know that you knew Jackson
Oh my God.
and not
yeah.
someone like Daniel. Well, I'm glad you weren't on his corner, but
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing is that we were there and this PR guy that, I don't know, I guess he like helps Jackson with his things, was like, oh, you know, it'd be so great if you guys got behind it. It'll just be funny. And we'd had a couple of drinks and that's literally all of the thought that went into it. It was not like this big, we did not go there to like get in the ring behind Jackson or anything like that.
absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
I hadn't even spoken a word to him until after the fight. I was
my
like,
God.
congratulations, well done. Hi, I'm Lyndall, by the way. Like, I don't know. It was just a bit of fun. And I think a lot of people took it a lot more seriously than we thought.
I know.
Man. And they always do, man. People are just trying to start some shit without there being shit to talk about. You know.
But, you know.
But how's like the dynamic though, like with the girls? Because you said that it's usually just you and Bronte, right? So like you guys are cool, obviously.
Yeah.
And what about you and Taylor and Alyssa? You guys ain't really know each other like that.
Well, so Alyssa and I are pretty close. We
Okay.
actually, at reunion, we swapped our wedding rings because we knew that we'd have to wear them when the show was airing.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us kind of didn't want that like association with our marriage. So we've always been really close.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sandy and I are like extremely close as well. We got a lot of the same like values and morals and like, I guess like audience as well. Like we have a bit more weight with what we were trying to represent on the show and what we've come out with afterwards. So we've always been close as well, but obviously we just don't live in the same city. And I mean, Taylor, like I hadn't seen Taylor since reunion.
Yeah.
And obviously that wasn't, you know, a fantastic time, but I kind of like, I talked it through with the girls before we went in and I said like, we didn't know whether she was going or not. And I just kind of thought, well, look, it's been a really long time and my qualms are actually with Cam. It's got nothing to do with her. And I think I made peace with the fact that she was probably just trying to do what I was doing, which was protect someone that she thought liked her back. And so I can't stay mad at that, you know, like.
Man,
and, you know, it's hard enough being a woman on reality TV as it is. Like, I'm just going to go in and say, hey, it's been a really long time. Let's just have fun. And it ended up being a really good time for everybody, I think.
Girl, man.
I mean, going back to that whole reunion thing, she made a few pretty out there comments, e.g., I saw Cam's cock.
His banana.
His banana.
But like, what was up with that? Like, how did that even all come out? Were there like rumors circulating?
Yeah. I mean, I'd been told by two people
Yep.
that it was a bit more than a FaceTime. I obviously don't have any proof of that, but a lot of it made sense to me. And after we finished filming, I had it confirmed that quite a few of the people knew that it was going on and it like kind of rocked me for a while. But again, like Cam was the one that committed to me. Taylor and I were never particularly close either. And, you know, it's just one of those things that you just have to kind of make some kind of peace with it and move forward. Otherwise, you just get hurt again and again and again by it. Yeah.
And that's like the hardest thing though, because like even though your guys' relationship wasn't really, you know, that great, like you and Cam, like it's still pretty disrespectful, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I guess like would it also like put you like in a very sticky spot as well too, like seeing her after all this time and just making the mature decision to go, hey, look, listen, I'm gonna let bygones be bygones, and that was a show. Like we're out here, like this is real life. Like that would have been crazy. But talk to me about like when you were in there. Like talk to me about your relationship with Cam though.
Yeah. I mean, look, it was pretty up and down, to be honest. I've never dated anyone like Cam before. And honestly, I don't think he's ever dated anyone like me. So I guess we had that in common. But yeah, I think our relationship was a little bit more I mean, everyone's was a little bit more complicated than what they air. I think something that people didn't see of ours was we just never really got to a place where we could get through any kind of conflict. And when I did what I did at Final Vows and I didn't want to hear what he had to say, it was actually because of a long list of arguments that we'd had where he would just shut down the conversation like a minute in and storm out. And so like that was the one time I actually sat him down and was like, this is how you made me feel, you know, because I always had to listen to him and what problems he was having and how I was doing the wrong thing. But then when I tried to tell him, well, this is why I was doing that, or maybe this is a way that you could help me, like not do that, or like if you talk to me about this, then I could understand why you need that. And blah, blah, blah. It would just be like, nah, this is horse shit, and like walk out. And I think that was like when it was airing, I was really surprised to not see that because it was in our reunion video and it was just like, like super affection for the like first 3 weeks. And then it was like our biggest fight, which didn't air at all. It didn't air at all. It was like week 3. And then after that, I just stopped trying to fight him because it would just get so reactive, like nuclear, that I was like, well, that's not who I am, and I don't want to keep having that argument. I don't want to keep feeling like that. So I would just like, all right, cool. We'll just move on. Like,
well, it's hard to build a connection with someone when they keep putting up these walls. They keep shutting you down.
Yeah.
You know, you're both getting triggered by each other, and you're trying to express like, okay, well, when you do this, this is how I'm going to react, vice versa. And if he keeps storming out, that does make it really hard to build that connection. So.
I feel like it was like I was trying so hard to just keep him in the room long enough to think about whether I actually wanted it or not. Like, like, you know, like you're just like, my only focus was just like, right, we've got to de-escalate the situation so that he doesn't like storm out.
Serious.
You know, like that. And then like that's your first priority. And if you can get past that stage, then maybe you can start like planting the seed of talking about things or something else. So it was just like, and then you just get caught up on that. And you can't do that every day.
No.
So sometimes I'd just be like, all right, well, I'm just going to
Exhausting.
put that in the back burner and not like, not bring it up again. But
Do you think he was even ready for a relationship by what you were saying, girl?
no, not at all. Like it's so hard because I can so recognize why not everyone, but I can so recognize why people are friends with Cam. Like he's such a fun, like lighthearted guy. He's a really good mate. Like he'll be really loyal to you. But in terms of our relationship, like it was so not like that. So while I have like made peace with everyone being friends with him, it's so hard for me to be okay with how I was treated. And yeah, it's a really weird place to be because, you know.
Absolutely, man. You know, I like that you say that because there's a lot of guys out there that, you know, will turn around and say, nah, like I've known him for ages, like he's not like that, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's like to us as guys, you never ever really know like what's happening behind closed doors, like with them and their, you know, partners, you know, like they're a completely different person when they're in a relationship. So, you know, it's actually so crazy how much, you know, you actually need to kind of reserve like yourself, like in a way, like, you know, to kind of, I guess know this person for who they are to the core, if that makes sense, because just them being a good person to their mates is not enough, you know? And now, like, I mean, that would have been tough as well, like for you, because has that been a little bit harder for you to like open up to other people now? Like, you know, if you are dating?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many layers to that. But I think even in the experiment, it was hard for me to tell people because, you know, on the outside we were doing so well and nobody really knew about all of the fights we were having or like how much we were both struggling. And so I very much, and as well, like as soon as you tell one person in the group, you're like, oh my God, they're going to bring it up at a dinner party and I'm going to have to deal with this under all the pressure of everyone being there. And maybe I'm not ready to do that today. So you don't want to always tell someone in the group what's going on because then you have to address it in a group setting. And I was just not interested in doing that ever. Just because like, you know, then people's opinions and stuff and it just gets way more out of hand.
Definitely.
And then I guess the biggest way that it affected me in dating after the show was that like it was affection, which is not a surprise with like how everything went with Cam. But like when I got home from after Final Vows, I went and had coffee with a really good friend of mine and he's a guy and he is just so lovely and like really listened to me and I was super turbulent coming home. And at the end he was like, wow, like this has actually like really broken you and gave me like pulled me in for a hug and gave me a kiss on the head. Like
The forehead
God.
kisses.
Yes.
You know,
Right,
I'm all
like-
about those.
yes. But I like pushed him away and just started sobbing because I was like, because I was like, I'm not allowed this. Like, this is not. And like, if you're going to give me affection, I just have to like be like, okay with that. And that's enough. And don't ask for any more. And then like, and it just sent me like way back. And it was like, that's someone that I've been friends with for ages. And they've always been so like comforting to me as a friend. And then I was suddenly having this completely adverse reaction that I'd never had before. And after that, dating was like, no. It was like, I'll sit there and I'll get to know you. But if you try to hold my hand in public, I'm off you. I've got the ick. And like,
Really?
yeah. And I could fully acknowledge that was because of a learned behavior from my relationship with Cam. Because that's not what I'm like
That's not who
normally.
you
I'm
are,
very
yeah.
comfortable. Like, so.
You know, and that's what happens, man. Like we all like develop like these, you know, I guess like these reflexes, you know, like that are just, you know, I guess from certain traumas like that we, you know, kind of go through. And like, I guess for you, like you're just really trying to protect yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And now that's the hardest thing though, because, you know, when someone else is trying to come in, they don't, you know, look at where you've been, they look at where you are right now.
Yeah.
You know, so man, like I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, man, but right now, how you doing?
I'm
If you
doing
don't
so
mind me
much
asking.
better
Yeah?
now. Yeah,
I'm glad,
yeah,
girl.
yeah.
That's
I
what's
can
up.
accept hugs and kisses.
Oh, yeah,
now.
yeah?
It's really
Okay,
good.
cool. Just checking.
I know, but it just broke me watching you go through that because I had a similar
Yeah, we've talked
situation.
about this
yeah,
before,
with Cody.
yeah.
Like
Very
all I was
similar.
asking for was a hug and, you know, a tissue when he would make me cry. And that was all I was asking for.
Yep.
And it got right until like the end when he dumped me. We went back to the couch and they didn't show this, but he said then and there, he's like, this was 4 months after us knowing each other. I'm sorry, I forgot to get you a tissue again.
Oh my God.
After you dumping me? Anyway.
Like
so
the same
I can-
routine, brother. It ain't. There's no sentiment in that. Like it sounds like it's a goddamn robot, bro.
But that's the thing. Like I felt like Cam and Cody had to constantly be told what to do, and that gets tiring. Like not just as a partner, but the experts. You know, I'm sure. You know, the experts were telling Cam like what to do as well. Then you're constantly having to tell him like we're not their mums.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We need masculine men in their masculine energy telling us, or just showing us, really stepping up.
Yeah. And just like, I guess like having a bit of softness as well. It's like, I'm not asking you because I'm trying to get mad at you or make you look bad on camera. I'm asking you because it's actually like the bare minimum of what I need here.
Absolutely
And I'm
right.
away from everything I know.
Exactly.
And I'm not telling anyone else about our problems
Yeah.
because I'm trying to focus on us and I'm
Yes.
trying to not put you in a spot where you
Yeah.
feel like you have to answer to it.
Oh my God.
But if
Yeah.
you don't want to be in that position, you've got to do some work too. And
Yeah.
it's really not much. And then I think that's why like Family Day blew up as much as it did because he was just like, you're insecure. And it's like,
Oh my God.
all the
That's-
things in
that
the world
got
that
me
I
so
am,
much.
that is not one of them when I'm asking you for one bit of affection.
Yeah, because we
Like-
talk about this all the time. People wanting like high value men, high value women, but they're not willing to do the work for it.
Yeah.
And that scene, when you got upset and like you just wanted a hug and he wouldn't hug you, and then he got his mum involved,
Oh my God.
I know.
and then they both called you insecure. I can't. Sorry.
I was also mad
Done.
at the mum, man. Like poor effort from you, mum. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh my! I can't believe that. Like
Yeah.
I remember
Shock.
watching that episode and hearing her say, like, relationships these days they're all about feelings, and I was like, that's literally the only reason why you'd be in a relationship. Like,
Literally, why else?
yeah, like why else? Like, I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit outdated from her, but whatever. It was a time, and I think Family Day was hard as well because we actually had our biggest fight the week before that.
Yeah.
And I came back, and I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you ever went through this, but I the week before we had this big fight because basically something had changed, and it was just. We'd have like a lot of tense moments, especially like on the honeymoon. There was like one that really stuck with me. And I kind of got to a point where I was getting a little bit angry about it. And I don't normally get to that like really frustrated point. And then I can't even remember how the argument started, but I was like, you just don't like me. Like you don't. And he was like, well, yes, I am. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't be here. And I was like,
my God,
that
I'm
says
so
nothing.
you say that to me
Yeah.
too.
I was like, that actually means nothing. And then he was like, oh, here we go. And starts like smacking the table. Like, here she is. Come on. Like, I've been waiting for this, like egging me on to get angry. And I was like,
Gaslighter.
right, well, that's it. And I snapped. And he was like, you're not even letting me finish. And I was like, yeah, because I don't want to fucking hear what you have to say. And then he like stormed out. And then the next week we had Family Day. And basically, like, I felt like if I didn't have this big blow up fight, there's no way they were going to let me leave, right? So I was trying to, like, argue with him in a way that meant that we could go away that weekend and just leave that week, because I was like, this man doesn't like me. He's not putting any effort in. He's egging me on when I'm angry. I'm crying every day I'm here. Like, why would I want to be here? And now, like, my mum's just had to go through this too. And so I kept, like, I went and pushed, but then I was also scared because you're like, oh God, but what if I say something wrong? But you're like caught up in the moment and you never know how they're going to play it. So after Family Day, it was like, all right, now just go back in and like apologize. And I was kind of like, okay, well, someone clearly thinks I'm in the wrong here. I don't like really know how to come back from this. And I did. And I went in and I said, like, hey, I'm really sorry that the fight got to where it did. And you know, when it's just us, like, we are okay. And he was like, yeah. Well, I need to do this, that, and the other. And then things got better. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we can keep going. And so that is why for the rest of the season, you don't see me talk about any of our issues at a dinner party. You don't see me stand up to him until I'm in a position at Final Vows where I know I'm not going home with him. I am just going back by myself. I never have to see this guy again if I don't want to.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, oh, and then you just try to get through and be
Absolutely,
okay.
man. Well, learning how to fight is very, very important, man, in a relationship, like, and I think sometimes as well, like as guys, our emotions, man, like we can't use our words when we need to use them, and in that moment, that was like, you just needed reassurance, and let's just talk this through. And it's just a conversation away from us going back to this loving, you know what I mean? And that's the hardest thing, you know what I mean? Like afterwards, you're like, hey, man, it didn't really need to get that big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, so this actually like kind of, makes a whole lot of sense as to why you didn't want to hear anything from him like at the Final Vows. Was that your idea, if you don't want me asking, like, or like did the producers kind of?
I think there were a few seeds planted for sure.
All right.
Like,
we don't want to talk about the
if you
producers.
don't want to have to, like, if you don't want to listen to what he has to say, then don't. And I
Okay.
was like, oh. And then, another comment of, this is the guy that said it was a stitch up to be put with the sick girl. And this is the guy who shut you down every opportunity he got, right? So then you start thinking, and I kind of got to Final Vows and I just went like, if there is one risk I'm going to take in terms of an edit being bad or me looking insane, I actually don't care anymore. I've been pushed beyond my limit.
Wow.
I have trusted and tried and gotten to know every part of this person to understand why they are the way that they are, and they don't even respect me.
Yeah.
And I guess I suppose it was as well, it was homestays for me because we went to homestays and I'd been promised retreat was really, really good for us. It was really good. The affection was there. We were getting along like a house on fire. We were almost like he would go off and do activities. But other than that, we were inseparable. We were cuddling all night. Like the intimacy was there. And I was like, oh my God, this is like what we could be like if we don't have the pressure of being in this tiny hotel room in the Experiment in the middle of Sydney.
Yeah.
So then we get to homestays, and that was kind of the promise that when we get to Darwin and when I get to be back in my realm, then I will be what you need me to be. And we get there, and it was like we went and picked up his dog and we went to have beers with his mates, and it just went straight back to that like cold, nah, I'm good, was more interested in like hanging out and catching up with his friends, like just kind of left me places on my own, not like talking. Yeah, it was really, it was interesting. And I know he was excited to be home, right? Like I get that. I would have been excited to be home, but it was a chance for me to integrate into your life.
Of course.
It's not a chance
if you
for you
cared
to
about
just
someone,
like,
you'd want to integrate them into your friends and family and your home life.
And we were feeding the fish with I don't know if you remember this, but when I was feeding the fish from my mouth.
Yeah.
And like, I like fishing. My family are a fishing family. I've done it before. I wasn't super grossed out, but when a giant fish is like snapping at your face, you're a bit like, well, okay, that's new. After that, we like jumped into the lake and we were feeding the fish, and it felt exactly like when we were on our honeymoon, when we were all loved up and we were swimming in a lake and he was all over me and like, and I just said like, hey, can I have a kiss? And he was like,
oh my God, Cody used to do that too.
and I was like, all right, well then don't worry about it then. I thought we were having a nice moment. All right. And he was like, no, all right, I'll give you one. I'll give you a kiss. And I was like, don't worry about it now. Like, if we're here with all of your mates, like they weren't watching, they weren't anywhere nearby. I wasn't like asking him to make out with me in front of a crowd.
No.
But like, it was one kiss in a romantic moment, and he just and then it was 45 degrees and I'm bad in the heat and I just had a full meltdown.
Oh.
And that was like, that was really embarrassing for me because I was like, I can't believe I've done this in front of his friends. But
Never
then,
feel embarrassed for how you're made to feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in that
Thank
moment.
you.
You feel like that for a reason.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And then after that, we went back to where we were staying, which was with his friends, Cal and Kate, who are beautiful, by the way. And I did my voxy about the day and how like I felt really bad and that I should apologize to Cam for embarrassing him in front of his friends. And I finished my voxy and I went outside. Cam went inside to do his. And Cal, his mate, is sitting at this table. He just looks at me. He's like, so like, what are you going to do? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I going to do? And he said, well, what are you going to do if you get your heart broken? And I was like, well, I guess I get my heart broken then, don't I? And he was like,
his friend says this to you?
yeah. I said, do you think that's what's going to happen? And he said, yeah, that's what's going to happen. And I was like, right, okay. And then like he was so good. Like he was like, he is just so not ready. And he tells us this and he talks to us about how he's feeling and he doesn't want to say it on camera because he doesn't want to be this bad guy that doesn't like you because he thinks it's going to get this bad edit. But you, like we saw you today and how upset you were and how genuine you are and how much you do want this. And I just like, you know, he was like, he's just not ready and he can't tell you. So like, I don't want you to go into this and get your heart broken because he's not telling you that. And I was like, oh, okay. So then we went into final dates and I've got this thing in my head of like, you are going to tell me yourself. Like you do not get to get away from this after 4 months or like 3 months of this crap. You're not going to get away with that. And then he's like, I don't think I'm enough for you. And I was like, that's actually my decision. Right. So then you see me be like, no, that's what I decide. Come on. And I was humiliated because obviously everybody knew about it. And then we go to the final dinner party. I'm just trying to survive the damn thing so that we can go home. And then he tells everyone in front of everyone. He just goes, no, I'm not on that path. And I was like, are you joking? It was one of the most humiliating things that he could tell everyone under the sun.
Yeah, and not you.
But not me.
Yeah.
And that's how he did it. That's like he was so okay with me having my reaction to that moment in front of everybody else. And like, And so after that, I was like, screw you. I'm going to do this one-on-one so that you have your moment to react on your own. But I'm going to say what I have to say. And I actually do not care. You've had 3 months to say something nice about me. And I've given you every opportunity to do the right thing. Yeah. And you haven't. And so like, that's just where I was
even
like,
to show up in another way. Like I know some guys aren't really good with verbal words of affirmation and like that kind of thing. But like he could show you by like giving you a hug, forehead kisses.
Yeah, exactly.
Acts of service,
but the
something
affection
else.
thing was because like we decided to do that because he wasn't good with his words.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like showing up in other ways. And I just thought, okay, well, what's the quickest way that he doesn't have to really think about that's going to give me the reassurance I need? Well, what if we do one bit of affection a day? If you can't tell me that you like me, if you can't show me that you like me, if you can't like, you know, I'm not going to get him to go out and buy me gifts. That's also not anywhere near my love language.
Same.
But I was like, this is the quickest way to do that. I'm not even 100%. Like that affectionate of a person.
Yes.
So I just thought, oh, well, this will work for both of us. Yeah. And then it just ended up being like even worse.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
So
That's the thing, though.
it was really messed up.
Too focused on wanting to look good on the camera. You hear that before? Because I'm like, for me, bro, don't move like you're on it if you're not on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want affection, but you want it genuinely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't just show it because that's what I need and require from this relationship, but do because you want to. You know what I'm saying? The worst thing is to get like, okay, fine, and mwah. What's that meant to make you feel like?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So, you know, I can totally understand like your frustration, man. But, you know, honestly, I think you dealt with that, you know, like a champ, girl.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And yeah, girl.
I know what that feels like.
Boy,
It's hard
honestly.
when you know that they're trying, but they're trying in their own style, which obviously hasn't got them anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're trying to like, you know, express how you're wanting to be loved. And they're just not receiving it. It's so frustrating.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah.
Oh my God. Listen, girl, let's talk a little bit about after the show. So I read a few articles about, you know, you hanging out with Jesse and possibly having a fling with Josh. How true is this? You know, a little birdie told me that one.
Oh, God. I mean, the Josh thing was so long ago now. It was like, it was after reunion. We'd finished filming everything. And I think there was like 11 or 12 of us that went out for dinner after publicity. And we just went to a club and got really drunk. And there was a nice man that showed me some affection for the first time in months. And I got a little bit carried away. So not like we made out. It was not in front of anyone. I don't know where these tabloids get that crap from. Nobody knew about it until I got in the taxi with the girls after, back to our hotel to have a sleepover with Claire, Sandy and Alyssa. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, guys, I did this thing. Oh no, it's going to get everywhere and everyone's going to hate me and blah, blah, blah. They were like, oh, lol, that's funny. And then we just went home.
Was he a good kisser?
As far as I remember, yeah.
It was that big of a night.
Look, it was a pretty big night. I do remember it. Yes, he was a good kisser. There was all I felt very liked. I felt very desired.
Now, that's what I'm talking about.
And that's what you want, right?
And then did you see him afterwards? Just asking
what
for a friend.
happened?
So after that, a few days later, I'd gone back to Perth and we spoke on the phone for a long time about you know, the fact that there's a bit of an age gap, everything that had happened on the show and, you know, that it wouldn't really look good for either of us. So we were just going to be respectful and like not talk about it. Like it was okay that it happened and it was okay that people knew about it, but it wasn't like we were going to get on a soapbox and tell everyone.
Yeah. How old is he again?
I think he's 42.
Oh, is he? Oh, he looks
don't look
really
that
good.
old.
Yeah.
Damn, Josh.
Yeah.
Man, drinking that potion. He's drinking that potion.
It must be all the cartoon pajamas.
Yeah.
Keeping him young and fresh.
Keeping his ass nice and limple.
Yeah. Keeping that wood. Like,
What? Excuse me,
Toy
sister.
Story pajamas. And he had Woody
okay.
on there.
Woody.
I was like, sorry, what are we talking about here?
That came out so wrong. Sorry, guys.
Keeping that wood to wood.
The
All right,
strepsils
girl.
are getting to me right now.
That's all right, girl. Anyway, girl, talking about the wood. Okay, cool. So like that was like a bit of a barrier, huh? Like just the age gap and you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
you know, we live on opposite sides of the country
Yeah, for real.
and we barely really, like, we didn't know each other in the experiment. I think I tried to talk to him about Lego once and he was like, no, because she's trying to get the boys, like, by outing Shannon or something like that. So he just
my
wasn't interested.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's all the production stuff of, like, trying to stoke that fire, trying to get
Yeah.
I feel
right?
that. I feel that.
And, yeah, and we ended up getting along pretty well, you know. And we had this conversation about, like, you know, nothing's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Like, there's an age gap. We don't know each other super well. We live on opposite sides of the country. This is just a bad idea in general. But obviously got along and kept talking. I was pretty clear. If, like, from my perspective, and people might have a different perspective on this, but from my side, I was pretty clear on the fact that I didn't want anything. I was in no position to be dating. Like, as I said, would cry when someone would like hug me.
Yeah.
So I was just not in any position. And he knew that. Like I really went into depth with him on how much I was struggling after the show. And it got to a point in like January, I think, where he kind of said like, hey, look, like I'm really glad that we're such good friends, but I have feelings for you and I don't think that we should keep talking because, you know, you've made it clear and whatever. And so we decided to stop talking. And then he got his hands on the first episode of our season before it came out and watched it. And that was obviously my episode. And the next day comes back and is like, oh, no, like I don't want to watch this without having you in my life. Like I think he, you know, he obviously saw a bit more of my story that I didn't really talk to people about at the time.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, fantastic. Love that. So glad to have you as a friend. You know, but if I cross any lines or if things get blurry or it's hard for you, just let me know.
Let's communicate, yep.
Yeah. And then the next week, drunkenly booked a flight to Perth to come over for the launch. Like Bronte and I had like a joint wedding episode. So we were like, oh, we'll have all of our friends together and we'll watch it. And he was meant to come for that. But when he came over, I think he had an idea that something would happen. And I obviously offered him to stay with us in our spare room, not in my room, in our spare room because, I don't know, just hospitable, I guess.
Absolutely.
And, so he came over and he stayed a couple nights and made a couple moves that I wasn't really happy with. I mean, I was like, this is, you told me you were coming to see everyone from Perth, not just me, and not for this. And I've been pretty clear on it. And anyway. And so my housemate came to me and she was like, hey, do you want me to have a word? And I was like, I literally don't know what else to do. And she was like, yeah, okay. Like, drop us off at the pub. You go get your nails done. And she went to the pub and she was like, look, Lyndall's been talking to this person. And at the time I was talking to someone like, and I was like interested in them. Nothing had progressed, but you know, like I was pretty keen. And she was like, hey, so she's really interested in this person. And like, that's why, you know, nothing's happening. And, you know, maybe just step back. And he was pretty upset and he left. Like he flew out the next morning,
Serious?
I think. Yeah. And that was the last time we spoke. Anyway, and I think it just got a bit complicated. And from then, like the Daily Mail article comes out and that just put me into a hole because it was right after my wedding. All the comments were, she's the village bike, she's cheated on Cam, she's ruined their relationship, I don't trust her. And it was like all of the amazing work, all of the amazing message that came with me being on the show and all of the things that I really wanted to represent just felt like it came crashing down because of this one dumb kiss on a night out after like, you know, months of it being really hard. So that was really painful. And when that happened, I just went, I want absolutely nothing to do with this anymore. And I just blocked everyone that had ever heard me from the show and
Yeah,
didn't talk to
fair.
anyone about it. I copped it and I went, yep, okay, sure, that's what you think the story is. I'm not going to comment. I'm sick of getting asked about it in interviews. It feels really vulnerable and not cool. And so that was just that. And we've never recouped. We've never reconnected. I think that Josh is just someone that really wants to be in love, and I hope he finds that.
It sounds like it.
But it's just so unfortunate that that's the way that things fell out, because that was never either of our intentions, I don't think. And we did have a really beautiful friendship before that, but it was something that was so big in my world that,
Go with all that you just said there, like, do you kind of feel a sense of regret with you going on to MAFS a little bit? With all that happened?
Yeah, I go
bit?
back and forth. Definitely. I think at the time I was like, I think everyone that goes on the show has some kind of idea that you're probably not going to find love, right? Like you really want to, and you have so much hope attached to it. But I think when it came down to it, I was like, this is a really good opportunity to make cystic fibrosis a household name. Like it's something that people will have to listen to when they see it on such a massive platform. And if we can get something good out of, reality TV, we might as well. But I also knew that me going on the show had a lot of weight attached to it. So, And then I think coming off, it's like I struggled to date again. I was in therapy. I had like mass anxiety towards the end of filming and then again while we were airing. And I think it just, like I remember one of my friends calling me when the article came out and they were like, oh my God, I can't believe that you just drunkenly hooked up with a guy at a club and now it's become this.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like
God.
you can't even do that as like a 20-year-old hot
Absolutely,
girl
man.
summer moment. Like,
Oh my God.
like, and that like just blew up in that way. So
I mean,
it was-
despite that though, do you feel like, what you wanted to represent coming off of MAFS, do you feel like that did build more of an awareness with cystic fibrosis?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And
I
like
feel like it did too.
the amount of like positive messages that I got, like every time I was having a bad day, there would be someone, especially like parents with kids with
Yes.
CF, who were like, we never knew what to expect. We don't have anyone to look to as someone that's grown up with it as like a
Yes.
success story or anything like that. And yeah, just the fact that people would come and be like, you've given us so much hope, and to see the wonderful person that you are and how like open you are and happy and all of that, like that definitely made it worth it.
Wow.
In a
That's
lot of
Giving
ways.
people hope and
Yeah. And like understanding that it is this thing. And I think as well, chronic illnesses and disabilities as well, like they really do have a massive impact on how you date and how you live. And it's a massive adjustment when like in so many bad ways as well as amazing ways when new treatments come out. Like,
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Or like the Trikafta.
yes.
Yeah.
So it got approved like, I don't know, like 3 weeks before I applied.
Okay.
And then I didn't start taking it until the 31st of May. And then we started filming at the end of July. So I'd really only just started taking it myself. But just the promise of this treatment existing and being available in Australia was like, oh my God, this is going to change my life. And it has. It absolutely has.
Absolutely. And for
In
the-
more ways than MAFS ever could,
That's
just by
true.
the way.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And if you could explain, like, what that is, like what that meant to your routine before, because I know that, because I've got one of my really good friends from Wollongong, his name is Beattie Driver, and he's lived with it his whole life, and life expectation was, very short.
Yeah.
And I remember like even like going, to get lunch with him, like he would pop so many pills before, afterwards, and like just like throughout the day. And when this, new medication came out, like it was almost life changing for him because he didn't have to carry around so many pills with it. Talk to me about that experience.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's something that when I was growing up, I was really, really well. And so I was just doing the bare minimum of taking tablets with what I eat and, maybe exercising here and there if mum could convince me to. And then maybe a year before COVID hit, my lungs were just starting to decline. And I had ups and downs when I was a teenager and things, but I was always pretty steady and always pretty well. But just before COVID, I really started to decline. And there wasn't any reason. There wasn't a new infection. It was just I was hitting the age that most CF people hit where their lungs start to stop working.
Wow.
And so then I had to really start picking up and being quite disciplined with all of my treatments. And I don't know, having to make that adjustment at like 24, 25 when everyone around you is like having the time of their life and you're like, cool, I'm going to spend an hour at home doing physio. Wow. If I have a cold, like, you know, I've got to go to the doctors and that might mean a hospital stay. And and then COVID hits and it's like, you know, do not get COVID. You do not want COVID. If you do not die, you will have permanent lung damage. And if you scar your lungs, you can't get that lung function back.
Yeah, they don't heal.
And all they were telling us was just keep your lung function as high as you can until this modulated drug comes out because that is going to like make you so much better. But if you scar your lungs, you'll never get past that point. You'll never like regain that lung function. So finally gets approved. COVID's starting to like calm down a little bit, but I still never would have gotten on a plane or anything like that. And I start taking the drug and the first 3 days were disgusting. It was like...
You're just coughing up so many gullies.
Yeah, it was like some mummified shit down there. It was bad.
I heard, man.
Yeah. So the first 3 days were like, it was just gross. But then after that 3 days, it was like every day something cool would be happening with like, you know, my voice, like I can sing. And so I'd be singing in the car and I'd be able to hit a note I haven't hit in 5 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Or like I'd be laughing and my laughing fit wouldn't end in a coughing fit. Or like, you know, like even talking to someone, if I got too excited, my voice would be so much louder and I'd be like, oh, sorry, because like I didn't have to try as hard to get the volume out. So it's just like it was all these amazing things. And then it was like, hey, you're on MAFS. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting on a plane. Like what? I didn't know when I was going to be able to do that again. And so, yeah, it was this massive change of like I went from doing all of these routine things every single day just to decline slower than I was to I don't think I did any of my extra treatments other than taking tablets with my food and having Trikafta. I don't think I've done anything else since the day I started it. Wow. And my lung function went from 60% on that first day to 92%.
That is
Whoa,
amazing.
that's incredible.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's been,
And like, how was like the rest of the crew, like, you know, like knowing that you had cystic fibrosis on the show, you know, like was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was not funny, but it was so interesting because obviously I told Cam at the wedding. Yeah. And all my friends and family know, and most people that had me on socials before that knew because I talked about it. And there were a few girls from the Hens Night that knew because I told I think it was like Bronte, Melissa and Claire maybe. They were the first few there. And I told them because they asked me why I was on the show. And so I got into it. And then after that, it was like the hens got away from us and I never really had a moment of, you know, being at a dinner party where I was like, hey guys, by the way, this is my life story. It's really heavy. Do you want to hear it? Like, you know, you just never get into that. That's not the juicy stuff. We're going to be like fighting over our relationship. So Sandy actually messaged me when the first episode aired and she was like, I actually, I knew you had something, but I didn't know the depth of it because you never told me and you went through all these things and you just, never seemed like it. You were like everybody else and, you know, you never brought it up and you never used it as an excuse. And I was like, oh, shit, yeah, I didn't actually talk that much about it. Yeah.
So sorry.
Man, that's amazing, man. Well, I mean, and this is why we really wanted to give you, the platform to be able to talk about that, you know, because there's so many people that feel limited because, you know, of CF, you know what I mean? But, seeing you on this big stage, it'll give them some hope, if, you know, for me, I see that as, for example, I always talk about how I was the first black guy, on Love Island Australia.
Yeah, wow.
And I always love to pave the way, you know what I mean? I'll, you know, make sure that people see that and, you know, hopefully they can kind of, you know, use that as a bit of encouragement if they want to go on the show. So, yeah, man, that would have been big for you, man. That's a pretty big moment.
Yeah, no, it was massive. And I think the biggest thing that I learned coming off the show that was related to all of that, because I was, you know, going through a lot of big life changes at the time, but I think coming off the show, it took me a long time, but I think a lot of the reasons why I stayed in the situation was because I genuinely felt like I was a burden, that I didn't deserve to be with someone because I was always going to have more baggage than your average person, right? That's just what I believed. I never thought that I'd have it, so I should just be. Yeah. And I should just be happy that anyone even wants to say that they're with me. That's kind of where it was coming from. And you know, as much as Cam kind of understood what it was because he knew someone with it, he also had a bad experience with that because that person passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm just here all right, well, we're just going to repress all of that and just, I am a burden and this is a big deal and I should just be thankful. And coming off, it was I have never been a burden ever. I've been nothing but a privilege to have
100%.
that like perspective and the positive like outlook I have. And then I look around and I'm like, all of my friends have been through some shit. Like they've all had something in their life. Like, you know, whether it's a parent's divorce or it's their own chronic illness or, you know, a bad
We've all got
experience.
trauma of some sort.
Exactly. And all the best people have that and come out of it being, you know, like just a little bit more grateful that life isn't always like that or understanding, like being able to be more empathetic towards other people and have like a better idea of what's actually important. And they're the people that have shaped me and changed my life for the better again and again.
Exactly.
It's, you know, it's not people that aren't empathetic and it's not people that haven't, it's hard to say, but like it's not people that haven't had these terrible moments. It's people that have and they push you and help you.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That's why
like,
it's just,
privilege.
I mean, do you think Cam would have been happy with anyone? Like despite...
Apparently he's happy now, so.
Oh,
She's like, yeah.
he's in a relationship now, isn't he?
Yeah. They started dating 3 weeks after Final Vows.
So that whole thing does not make sense to me. Was he scouted for the show or did he apply?
I think the story was that he applied years ago. A couple of years ago, he put an application in. That's how they had his contact details. But then for our season, they reached out to him and found him.
Interesting. So do you feel like that girl that he's now currently with, was she kind of like always on the sideline?
This is already out there, so it's not like anything crazy new. But when we went to Darwin, we went and picked up his dog. That was the first thing we did.
Okay.
And she was looking after the dog.
Oh,
The same
my
girl.
God. I'm done.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
And like
Wow.
I met her and we sat down, we had a beer and it was great. I was like, oh my God, she's lovely. Like so cool. How do you have such cool friends around you, Cam? Like and then it wasn't until after the show aired and he started posting photos with her that I was like, I fucking met her.
God.
What are you doing? I know. Yeah, and I didn't find out till after reunion that he had a girlfriend. So there was all that stuff with Taylor
Crazy.
and then he got a girlfriend.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And look, she is lovely and they seem happy. I know that they knew each other before the show. So
Wow, man.
thanks for wasting my time, mate. But
Man,
yeah.
I wasted that time 2022. Anyway.
Yeah, God.
So talk to me about this though. We also read somewhere that you might be bisexual. Is that?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh
You
yeah,
like
not
the
mine.
I
ladies.
just saw on your
Definitely.
story, there was
Okay.
like this huge post of Miley Cyrus's ass behind you.
yeah, but yeah.
And you're just like, not sure if anyone knows that, you know, I'm bisexual. I've got like Miley Cyrus's ass behind me.
Yeah. Someone was like, "What are you doing for Pride Month?" And I was like, "I'm going hard, guys. Like, come on." And everyone on the show knew. I told Cam
okay, cool.
on the honeymoon, and
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure I talked about it at a commitment ceremony as well. There were a few of us, you know, that came out, but you know, I'm not going to out anyone else. But yeah. I've just
So was there any attraction for you with the other brides?
It's harder with the other brides because I think you kind of have to vibe a little bit, and we're all in relationships,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So like
Yeah.
that's kind of where my head's at. Is like this is my person, and that's that. I have I've dated women before, like casually and seriously, but
Okay.
Did you say to the producers or on your application if you had a preference?
yeah. So there is like a part of that where they ask you what your sexuality is and like whether you'd be comfortable dating, you know, anyone else of any gender.
Yes.
And I said yes, but I think the situation will be complex enough. Just, you know, with the CF and the MAFS and the experiment and the marriage and all of those things that maybe it's better if we just keep it a little bit more simple. Because as well, I don't know. My experience was that maybe MAFS wasn't really prepared for the complexity of not heteronormative relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of starting to warm up to that because there've been rumors about, you know, season 11.
Same-sex ones this
having-
year,
yeah, absolutely.
hopefully.
Come on
Hopefully.
now. But like we haven't really seen any sneak peeks or any
I know.
paparazzi.
And all
you
the
know what I'm
others have been
saying?
leaked. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
I know. I just want to know. And like, look, I hope that they do because it's such a big platform. I think it's so important that we have
Definitely.
like queer representation in that
well,
space.
they did in the UK.
Yes, yeah.
And they did have, I can't remember their names. Tash and someone else from season 6.
Yes, yeah, they've had one female homosexual couple.
Yes.
Okay.
Apparently it didn't last very long. I didn't watch that season.
Sadly, no.
Yeah,
you
and
did?
I don't know. I mean, I hope they do.
Yeah, like
But
who
I
knows? Maybe
too.
they'll like bring him in as bombshells or something.
Yeah, hopefully.
You know, yeah.
So true. Apparently the Intruders were filmed like this week or something. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Not me keeping up with
No, I just I don't know. Like somebody said.
That's the thing. Will you watch this season? Or like, because I couldn't. I watched like half.
Yes. I remember
And
you
then I
telling me
just
this. You're like,
couldn't
no,
do it
I'm
anymore.
out. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I think like I probably will. I don't think I'll watch it as religiously as I watched my own.
Season, yep. Mhm.
But yeah, I have said like a few times on my Instagram, like if you are on this season, please reach out and just make sure that you can talk to someone that's done this before.
course.
I was so unprepared.
Wow.
I know. Nothing prepares you for it, hey, until you're in it and you're just like, what
true.
the hell?
Yeah. You just like you film it and then you go home and you can't talk about it. And it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to put that in a box in the back of my head and never
Yeah.
unpack it. And then
And
it's like,
that's
oh,
it.
wait a sec, we've got to unpack it in front of a whole country. Like,
Yeah, literally. And have
Yeah.
everyone judging you, all eyes and ears on you. It's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure.
yeah, definitely.
So not too long ago, so we had Ali from the Daily Mail.
Yeah, in here.
Yeah. It's
no
like he
way.
came on. Oh man, he's a funny boy, man.
Isn't he?
Crack up, man. He's crazy. So, but like we were asking him some very interesting questions, and we were asking who from season 10 were the most fame hungry contestants.
Oh, okay.
You know who he said?
Who?
He said you and Bronte.
He said Bronte and interestingly enough,
Lyndall.
Lyndall.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Those are his words. So I was like, so now that you're saying that, you know, like, cause like you're like, oh, you know, you couldn't have been any prepared for this. It's like it's not like you planned, you know,
Yeah.
to go on the show and have a game plan. I don't. It doesn't sound like you was fame hungry,
I mean, like,
unless like if you had like a business you were trying to, you know.
I have no business. I've no offense, guys. I have not started a podcast.
It's okay, girl. Don't
No,
worry.
no,
Like,
it's
no shade whatsoever. If that is what people plan to do, then that's
Yeah.
great. Literally, I have no idea what I'm going to do. The one thing that I've always said, I remember talking to Ollie about this in Partner Swap. He was like, "What's the plan?" And I was like, "What plan? I didn't expect to be here." I don't know. And then, like, even coming off, I was like, I actually have no idea. Like, I have not. You know, Bronte and I did talk about moving to Sydney because you know you get caught up in the excitement of it all.
For real.
And then we went immediately, ooh, no, that's terrifying, and airing was a terrible process. So we're just going to stay in our safe space. But like, I go to the events that I get invited to. I've made a lot of friends within these new circles, and that's a beautiful place in Perth. I don't think I could have done that in Sydney. I don't think I could have done it in Melbourne either. It's a very different community, I think.
It's just a different beast in general.
Yeah. And I mean, the only thing that I can think of that I think I would genuinely enjoy is like Twitch streaming. Like that's what I want to do. I want to play video games and like fully nerd out. Like, yeah. Like, and you know, I've had people be like, oh, well, you know, do you want to be a singer? Like, we'll get you back in that space and we can record with like these producers. And I was like, the only singing I'm interested in doing are like musicals and country music. And I don't think that's what you want to market. Like that is not like they're you know, more niche and like a little bit nerdy, right?
So
Like,
I don't really know what
I
the
don't
hell
know.
Ali was talking about. But, you know, apparently to
mean,
Carolina,
yeah.
he also said that Duncan would be the villain, you know. And that is complete opposite to what he was. He was the
no,
good
you know what?
boy.
I reckon Ali's just pulling everyone's legs. He's
I
like,
think
yeah,
so
we'll
too.
just plant some seeds. We'll see what happens. Like,
Do you think anyone came off your season that you were surprised that got like the AKA villain edit?
yeah, I was really surprised with Alyssa's edit. I think a lot of people
Everyone's
would say
saying that.
Yeah.
We
Because-
had her in like not long ago. She's
Yeah, I
lovely.
saw.
Last
Yeah.
week, yeah.
She was saying like, I really loved the experience. You guys were great. So, you know.
Come on now. Also, you had to ask her, hey, like, are they cool? Like, should I come through? Is it safe?
No, but I was really genuinely surprised. I think like what I said at reunion and what I said to both Alyssa and Duncan, who were very good friends of mine, both of them the whole way. I like, you know, I was like, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like watching a slow train wreck. That's like, it's heartbreaking because they liked each other so much.
Yeah.
And they like, I remember Alyssa sitting on the couch, the first commitment ceremony and going, she was like, this is magical.
Yeah.
Like, and she was so happy. They were so happy. And like, I just remember saying to them, I was like, I think it's just going to be something where you guys have these conflicts but it's like you just can't get through them. And like we always thought that they were going to come off the show and like try in the real world and then thrive, because the complication of production and living in an apartment and not being at home and all these people with different opinions on what's going on in your relationship was just not helping them. But I mean, it's hard as well, because I think if you break up at the end, I think they have to have a very, like I feel like the powers that be, choose one side or the other, right? And I think it's hard too, because even in my relationship with Cam, it's like, I know I made mistakes. I know I did things that were wrong. I know that he really struggled being away from home. I understand how he grew up. I understand where he came from and why he acted the way he did. Don't condone it. Don't think it was right. Yeah. But like if they'd shown more of that, then it would have been a more well-rounded view of why things went wrong. And I think that's true of everyone's relationship. So I don't know, it's for entertainment. You do sign up to it to a certain degree, but you know, it's also like Alyssa was like way out there. Like we did not think it was going to go that way at all.
But did you see anything being in the experiment at the same time as them? Anything with Duncan that was a red flag that you thought, oh, maybe that he could be a bit of a villain, or like, why would Ali think that? Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know why Ali would think that of all people. I think there were definitely things that Duncan did that I was like, oh, I think I'd be upset if my partner did that too.
Yeah.
But I don't think either of them did anything that was completely unforgivable, like, see you later. Like, that's what's hard, is that I think they had to make it this massive juxtaposition of personalities for it to make sense that it didn't work out or something. But, yeah, I mean, I think he definitely was a politician at times. Like, that's
we
Duncan
keep hearing
I saw.
that, hey?
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, I love the guy. I think he's
me too.
beautiful and such a good friend of mine, and he was so good to me, like all through the show
so
and
lovely.
after, such a good friend. But I do also know that I would have conversations with him off camera, and then he would get asked or be put in a position where we were talking about that same topic, and he would do that thing that everyone keeps saying about him, going, well,
Pause.
and he would purse his lips and he would dart his eyes up and like back and forth, and then he would have this very well-rounded
He's a very stoic,
answer.
yeah.
And
He
I mean,
thinks
like,
about-
I mean, like, clever guy, like playing the game of don't give them a reaction, right? Like, like we all saw it and we were like, I mean, I get it, but just
that ain't it.
fucking lose it, man. Come on, like, give us something. Like, you can't be that okay with everything.
every single time too.
Yeah.
For
like,
real.
Yeah. I mean, again, I love the guy, but I definitely saw that, and that would piss me off, because then you're just like, oh, well, come on. Like, you just told me last night that you didn't like that, and now you're sitting here going, well, I can understand that, right? Like,
You did this impersonation a few times ago.
once I tried. Ollie and I worked on them in Partner Swap. We were sitting
I
there
bet.
doing
Oh, yeah,
impersonations
this is
of
the voice of
everyone.
artist too, so he knows what's up.
Yeah. He's amazing at them.
My God, man. Hey, girl, honestly, like, we've covered so much, man. And I think, like, to
my
kind
lordy.
of, you know, put the little cherry on top, I always say, you know, to the people that, you know, come on, that have been on reality TV, I'm so proud of you. You know what I mean? And thank you so much for coming in the studio. This was
No,
amazing.
we're so grateful.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, we got you, girl. We got you. Hey, and we're like the CEOs, okay? You know, the chief energy officers. You know? So we got you. But hey, listen, we're gonna, you know, just leave it there. But for those of you guys that are listening, thank you so much for listening. And yeah, if you guys have got any more you know, guests that you guys would love to see on the podcast, please do email us on backtoreality@novapodcast.com.au. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Next week.
Reality.